President Zelensky's accused the Russians of terror tactics in blowing up a huge dam threatening hundreds of thousands of homes and a nuclear power plant.
While it remains unclear if Ukraine's counter-offensive has begun, Kyiv says its forces are shifting to offensive actions in some areas.
In Brazil, protesters mark the first anniversary of the murder of environmental journalist Dom Phillips and indigenous expert Bruno Pereira. Apple launches Vision Pro, its mixed reality headset, the high-spec specs that will set you back $3,500 a pair. Dramatic pictures this morning of the mighty Dnieper River bursting through the Novakhovka Dam. Ukraine accused Russia of blowing it up, setting the clock ticking on the evacuation of hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians living downstream, with less than 5 hours to save them. The floods also threaten the huge Zaporizhia nuclear power plant, currently in Russian hands, which uses water from the reservoir to cool its reactors. The Kakhovka hydroelectric power station dam, which was at full capacity under Russian control, is located in the Kherson province of southern Ukraine. President Zelensky accused the Russians of using terror tactics to try and thwart Ukraine's counteroffensive. Moscow says the dam was hit by a Ukrainian airstrike.
Ukraine has released this footage purporting to show attacks on Russian positions near Bakhmut. Kyiv earlier maintained silence on its military activities, but has since announced that its forces are shifting to offensive actions in some areas. Whether this amounts to the launch of its long-awaited counter-offensive remains unclear, but President Volodymyr Zelensky did reference Bakhmut in his nightly address.
Я вдячний кожному нашому воїну, усім нашим захисникам, нашим захисницям, які дали за цей день саме ті новини, які ми очікуємо. Бахмутський напрямок. Молодці воїни.
The Ukrainian leader earlier welcomed Britain's Foreign Secretary James Cleverly to Kyiv. The pair discussed Ukraine's accession to NATO, with Cleverly saying Ukraine will win the war and can count on London's support. Moscow, meanwhile, has released its own footage claiming to show it repelling an attempted large-scale offensive by Ukrainian forces in the Donetsk region. It says it killed 250 Ukrainian troops and destroyed tanks and other military vehicles. Russian state television has also aired footage showing the destruction in border towns in southwest Russia's Belgorod region. Some observers see the attacks as part of Ukraine's efforts to distract Moscow and stretch its forces to help the counter-offensive succeed.
Russian representatives of the opposition and civil society are calling on the EU to support them in order to prepare and restore democracy in a post-war Russia. Mikhail Khodorkovsky, one of the main political opponents of Putin and self-exiled in Switzerland, came to the European Parliament on Tuesday for exactly this purpose. He told Euronews that active resistance to the war is not as popular in Russia today as the opposition would like.
Россияне также считают, что, начав эту войну, пускай неправильно и по ошибке, россияне не могут допустить того, чтобы они ее проиграли, потому что это приведет к развалу России. И вот этот вот мотив путинской пропаганды совершенно ошибочный с точки зрения реальности, но совершенно эффективно действующий на мозги людей. Проигрыш путинского режима равен развалу России. Вот это самое опасное. Именно поэтому я настолько часто выступаю и говорю о том, что развал России грозит только от рук Путина, а отнюдь не от того, что Путин уйдет из власти.
Andrius Kubilius, a Lithuanian MEP who also served as the country's prime minister, says that a regime change can come at any time depending on the outcome of the war, and rejected any idea of a fast-track peace process with Ukraine.
Russia is, I think it's coming to the dead end in its development if things will not change. And when somebody is asking me, do I see any kind of evidence, of possibility of changes, I am answering very simply. Nobody was seeing any evidence before perestroika have started back in 1985. So, but I think that, at that time, even in political elite of Soviet Union, there was clear understanding that if things will continue to go as they were going during Brezhnev time, then Soviet Union simply will, collapse very quickly. They started those, perestroika reforms from elite,
Around 70 anti-war and opposition groups previously met in Berlin in April to agree on a common declaration, which has now been signed by 30,000 Russians. This position is that the war is criminal and that the regime must be removed from power.
Crowds have flocked to see the historic Holy Trinity icon at Moscow's Christ the Saviour Cathedral after it was moved from the State Tretyakov Gallery. President Putin's gesture is being seen as a tightening of the alliance between the Kremlin and religious leaders during the uncertain times of the conflict in Ukraine. The almost 600-year-old Trinity artwork, painted in the Middle Ages by legendary Andrei Rublev, was placed in Moscow's main cathedral this weekend, despite protests from art conservationists. Harking back to Europe's golden age of rail travel, it's all aboard in Brussels for the night train to Berlin. The service was launched 2 weeks ago by the European Sleeper Company and is on one of a small number of routes, offering travellers an alternative to airport queues and budget airlines. Many see it as a greener alternative to flying. And it's selling out with tickets from 49 to 109 euros. It was a case of the High Court without the Prince, much to the annoyance of the judge when Prince Harry failed to show up as a witness on Monday, but he's expected in court today. The phone hacking case against the publishers of the Daily Mirror will be an unprecedented court appearance by a royal in modern times. The Duke of Sussex is suing the Mirror newspaper group for damages over alleged unlawful information gathering. The newspaper's lawyers deny any phone hacking and claim there's no evidence to support claims by the Prince. Family and friends of Bruno Pereira and Dom Phillips. They were holding a commemorative event in Rio de Janeiro on Monday, marking the one-year anniversary of their deaths. Pereira, an expert on indigenous peoples, and Phillips, a British journalist, was shot dead while returning from a reporting trip to the remote Javari Valley region.
Foi roubado da minha família, dos meus amigos, entendeu? Pela ganância, pela falta de fiscalização que foi proposital do governo anterior. Eu tenho muita revolta, eu tento não me focar nisso, eu tento ir adiante e fazer o que é possível usando o nome do Dom em favor da conservação.
Pereira and Phillips were last seen on their boat in a river near the entrance of the Javari Valley Indigenous Territory, which borders Peru and Colombia. 3 local fishermen are currently in prison awaiting a possible trial on suspicion of murdering Phillips and Pereira, but Brazilian police have now arrested the alleged leader of a transnational criminal organisation, accusing him of being the mastermind of the murders. Many people were touched by the brutal murders of 2 men who fought to give the Amazon and those who lived there a voice. Apple presents Vision Pro, its mixed reality glasses. They cost $3,500 and will be available early next year in the United States. With this device, Apple aspires to revolutionize the sector and stand up to rival technological giants such as Google, Microsoft or Meta. Its device is controlled by the eyes and hands.
Hear and interact with digital content.
It's definitely not cheap. I mean, $3,500 is something that I think early adopters will definitely be able to afford. But then we go back to what is this device going to be for you? If you start to think about it as it's going to be your television, it's going to be your monitor, it's going to be your computer, this is a standalone device.
The announcement comes just 4 days after Meta unveiled its new mixed reality headset, the Meta Quest 3. So what makes the Apple device different?
We believe Apple Vision Pro is a revolutionary product.
Delivering profits on the device may rely on how much users are prepared to pay.
Thousands of Hindu worshippers perched precariously on the narrow rim of an active volcano in Indonesia. They've come to Mount Bromo in eastern Java to take part in a centuries-old religious tradition which requires them to throw offerings into its smoking crater. They climb the peak carrying goats, cows, and whatever else they plan to offer the gods as part of the Yatna Kasada festival.
Juga ada permen, juga ada makanan ringan.
Ya bersyukur kepada Yang Maha Kuasa karena Yang Maha Kuasa sudah melimpahi rezeki kepada Bapak ini. Lalu Bapak ini mengembalikan hasil dari buminya gitu.
It was the first time since the COVID-19 pandemic that the site has been opened. However, some villagers took to the steep slopes with nets in the hope of catching some of their offerings to avoid them going to waste. The ritual dates back to a 15th century story of a princess who agreed to sacrifice her youngest son in exchange for being able to bear children.